Difference between fault liability and no-fault liability. Introduction. Fault liability and no-fault liability are two important principles governing compensation under motor vehicle accident law. The distinction determines whether the claimant must prove negligence to receive compensation. Fault liability is based on wrongdoing, while no-fault liability is based on statutory welfare principles. Understanding this difference is essential for LLB examinations and motor accident claim cases. Fault liability. Fault liability is a system where compensation is awarded only when the claimant proves that the accident occurred due to rash or negligent driving of the vehicle. The burden of proof lies on the claimant. Liability arises from wrongful conduct of the driver or owner. This is the traditional rule of tort law. Proof required, negligence or fault must be proved through evidence. Without proof of fault, compensation cannot be awarded. Nature of compensation. Compensation is based on actual loss suffered. It includes loss of income, future prospects, medical expenses, and dependency. Quantum of compensation generally higher and comprehensive. Calculated using the multiplier method. Forum. Claims are decided by the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal. Case law, Meenu B. Mehta v. Balkrishna Ramchandra Nayan, 1977. Facts. The claimant sought compensation for injuries caused in a motor accident without proving negligence of the driver. The issue was whether compensation could be granted without establishing fault. Held. The Supreme Court held that under fault liability, negligence must be proved. Compensation cannot be awarded without establishing rash or negligent driving. No-fault liability. Meaning. No-fault liability allows compensation without the need to prove negligence or fault of the driver. Liability arises purely by operation of law. The purpose is to provide immediate relief to victims. It reflects a social welfare approach. Proof required. No proof of negligence is required. Only proof of accident, death or injury is sufficient. Nature of compensation. Compensation is fixed and limited. It is statutory and interim in nature. Quantum of compensation. Lower and fixed by law. Paid irrespective of fault. Purpose. To provide speedy relief and avoid lengthy litigation. Case law, Gujarat State Road Transport Corporation vs. Ramanbhai Prabhatbhai, 1987. Facts. Dependents of a deceased accident victim claimed compensation without proving negligence of the driver. Held. The Supreme Court upheld the principle of no-fault liability and recognized the right to compensation without proof of negligence. Key differences. Basis of liability. Fault liability is based on negligence or wrongdoing. No-fault liability is based on statutory welfare principle. Burden of proof. In fault liability, the claimant must prove negligence. In no-fault liability, no proof of negligence is required. Speed of relief. Fault liability involves longer proceedings. No-fault liability provides quick and immediate relief. Amount of compensation. Fault liability generally provides higher compensation. No-fault liability provides limited and fixed compensation. Nature of remedy. Fault liability is compensatory and corrective. No-fault liability is social and humanitarian. Conclusion. Fault liability and no-fault liability serve different purposes under motor vehicle law. Fault liability ensures accountability by requiring proof of negligence, while no-fault liability ensures speedy and minimum relief to victims without legal hurdles. Together, they create a balanced system of justice by combining deterrence with welfare. This distinction is highly important for LLB examinations and motor accident claims practice.